Welcome to Cat's Got Your Tongue. This is the podcast for cat lovers in association with the charity Cats Protection. My name's Adam Brown, and I'm here back again hosting the podcast which enables us to find out everything we could ever possibly want to find out about cats. Your chance to ask questions and tell us funny stories about your cats. Each episode, of course, we are joined by celebrity guests hearing about the cats in their lives and exactly why they love them just so much. And we'll delve deeper into the lives of your cats as well whilst we're at it. This is Cat's Got Your Tongue. So each week on Cat's Got Your Tongue, we're joined by a cat-owning guest or guests to talk about life with their pet, how cats make their lives better, and also, in most cases, to hear exactly how they communicate with their cat using their special cat voice. And learn a little bit more about cats myself in the process. Now, in this episode, we've got singers, songwriters, podcasters, content creators, and two fantastic cat owners from their very own studio. It is social media superstars, Max and Harvey. That's a big intro, that, ain't it, boys?
Hello, man. Thank you. I feel honoured to be introed like that. Honestly, we normally just get some guys, Max and Harvey.
It's like, what don't they do?
Well, do you know what? It's quite impressive that I nearly ran out of breath as I was doing the intro to you. So that's always good, isn't it, to know you've got that much going on.
I can tell you one thing Max doesn't do: speak to women. Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to get that in there.
That's I speak to cats instead. That's...
Yeah. Well, you're in the right place for that anyway.
Yeah.
So, guys, I mean, we met a couple of years back at the National Cat Awards, and I could obviously when I met you then, I could tell that you were super sort of enthusiastic and just passionate about cats. So I suppose a good place to start would be for you to tell us about the cats in your life, and maybe take us on a little bit of a journey as to cats you previously had right through to current situation.
Okay, so this is going to be a slightly lovely yet sad tale, I'm afraid.
Okay, it's fine. We'll prepare ourselves for it. Go.
When we were very, very young, we moved into this house that we're currently in with our family, and we actually moved in to a house that already had cats. So we didn't own the cats. It was basically the people that previously owned the house were moving, I think, to a different country, and they couldn't take the cats with them. So they asked our family if we would take the cats. And luckily enough, our mum was animal enthusiastic and absolutely wanted to keep the cats and was so up for it. So we had two cats, Minnie and Binka. They were their predetermined names. We didn't change them.
Binka, I'm told is like some sort of reference to something, but I have no idea what. It's a really weird name, but
we didn't know.
Yeah.
So Minnie was this fluffy black cat. She was amazing, loads of personality. Binka was a little bit, she kept to herself kind of thing. She was more of a stripy, what was her colours? It was sort of grey and brown type
I'm
colours,
not going to pretend
I know. Unfortunately, I think we lost Binka first. Weirdly, it was a weird way of finding out. We came back home from a trip from Germany, and our little sister opened the door to us and said, "Hi boys, the cat's died." And we were like, "Cool."
Literally first thing she said when she saw us.
But it is what it is. We love Binka. We got loads of life out of her. She was great. Minnie stuck around for loads longer. She actually lived to, I think, 16 years old or something like that. So she had a great run. And she was just the most sort of lovable little fluff ball that we had for ages. And then we moved on to a cat. We've had really bad luck with cats.
No, so we had Curly and Pingu.
There you go,
who unfortunately Curly only lived to the age of 5.5. He sadly got kidney failure recently and passed away, which is a shame. But we understand that sometimes these things happen, and we were just lucky that we have a really good sort of support ring around us, and everyone was very supportive. And also, bizarrely, Pingu used to always be the very sort of Lone Ranger cat, didn't really need anyone, just sort of strutted her stuff. And Curly was very much the lap cat, needed attention, needed food, a lot of food. And when Curly passed, Pingu almost turned into this completely different cat of very much wanting loads of attention, very much pestering people, needing things similar to what Curly did. And it was almost like he was completely taking away the thunder from Pingu. So as much as it was obviously sad to lose him, it was really nice to see suddenly Pingu almost opening from her shell a little bit more and just, turning into a very, very loving cat that she is now.
Yeah, it's so tough, isn't it, dealing with, losing a cat. I don't think there's anything that can prepare you for it. I lost my cat at the end of last year. I got a new rescue from Cats Protection about 2 weeks later, just because I just felt so strange not having a cat in the house. You become so accustomed to it, don't you? It's just, especially if you've always sort of had cats. How did you guys kind of cope with that? How did you feel?
It's a really weird story, actually. So we found out about Curly potentially needing to be put down because they weren't 100% sure whether or not they could, help with the kidney failure. Although usually with things like that, it's fairly unlikely. We were actually at Bird World, which is, I know, so random, but we were just filming with them, and we sort of got a text from our mum whilst we were filming saying, so Curly needs to be put down today. And at that point we had to tell the people we were filming with, because we wanted to be there, we were like, we're really sorry, we have a hard out at about 4 p.m. if we could just leave. And we didn't want to say to them, this is the reason why, because we didn't want to put them in that uncomfortable position. We were also kind of like, we just need to go. So, really sorry, but thank you so much for having us and all that sort of stuff. So it was a really sort of weird juxtaposition because we were also hanging out with all these amazing animals. We got to feed some penguins, like we were showering some emus and having an amazing day, and then got told that our cat had to be put down. And so we were really like in a weird position of like,
yeah, it's so hard to process it when you're doing something like that, and it's like, whoa, like you don't envisage being told in that scenario, do you? I suppose
exactly. But I think in ways it almost made it a little bit easier because we were so distracted and because it wasn't like the only thing on our minds. So yeah, in a weird way it did make it easier, but at the same time it was obviously sad, especially for our little sister who does absolutely massively care for our cats, and as does our little brother as well. And so he came home from school because he's in boarding school, and he came home and just spent hours just lying with Curly because he only had a bit left. But it was tough, but we all got through it, and we did actually have some friends around as well, just as a coincidence, because also we were out with them at Bird World and stuff like that. So we did have a lot of people around us, which I think massively helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys as well have done work in the past with cats protection. You visited, the National Adoption Centre. You visited quite a few of our sites actually in the last couple of years, haven't you? So
we're serial visitors.
Yeah, you are invited though. You don't just kind of turn up. Yeah. We're back. So I mean, why has it always been important to you guys to kind of work alongside cats protection?
I think we just want to make sure that everyone. It feels like a lot of people aren't as aware of the fact that you can adopt a cat that's already had a bit of a life, but maybe had a bit of a rough life where they were before, because obviously loads of people know about rescue dogs and various other animals, but cats seem to go a little bit under the radar kind of thing, and people typically go to whether it be the pet shop or places that breed cats to purchase their cats, but actually cats protection, very well, they're rehoming and making sure that all of these cats are ready and happy where they're going to be going, and we couldn't want to support something more than that kind of thing. So,
but also when we first started working with cats protection, we didn't really know like the lengths to which cats were mistreated in some instances. I mean, the fact that one of the first times we visited one of the centres, literally like half an hour before, a cat had just turned up in a box, in like a cardboard box, and we were just meant to be sort of filming loads of fun content with them that day. And it was really strange because we were like, oh, this is very real. Like, people are just ditching cats, and it's like completely unfair on, the cats who just wanted to live a nice life. And so seeing them getting turned around and being rehabilitated and the amount of care that goes into them, it just, they deserve that life that they, wanted to have, as every other cat does.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is as well, you guys, when you do go to the adoption centres, you really get stuck in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I saw a reel, and it was basically you get given the tour and do all the fun stuff, but then also learn how to scan for ringworm and read poo charts, and do you know what I mean? Like all the non-glamorous side of cat ownership as well, which is good. I'm glad you guys don't just turn up and just pose with some kittens.
No. We want to know everything. Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe the guy that did that with us was called Joe, and he was brilliant because I mean, it's a shame he didn't let us test Tilly for ringworm, which was we wanted to give it a go.
Apparently, that's unreasonable.
Yeah, that wasn't on the agenda that day, but maybe our next visit we can give it a go. But we do have fun with that sort of thing, and actually, as much as it's obviously we want to get stuck in and learn about it, we actually see that as one of the very interesting parts of it as well, that people both should know but also would want to know, because like I mean, even for us, like it didn't occur to us that we should, occasionally check our cats to see if there is anything like ringworm or anything like that they might have picked up from someone outside or a stray cat or whatever it might be. I don't know. But yeah, I mean that just opens your eyes to how many different things that the cats need to be looked after and rehabilitated and turned around. And yeah, it was just really, really educating. I've lost the ability to speak.
You got this. You're on it.
But I knew where I was going in my head. So yeah.
No, it's interesting because I think even working with cats protection myself and doing this podcast, I've realised that there's just so much that you can actually learn about cats, even though even being cat owners for a long time like yourselves, you feel like every time you go to one of the adoption centres, there's always something new that you're finding out about cats. Like, it's weird, isn't it? There's always something else that you think, oh, I didn't know that, I didn't realise that. And I suppose it kind of benefits you as cat owners as well, that you have all these little sort of hints and tips that you can pick up.
Do you know what I did learn actually in our last visit, and this was really interesting, and it's something that is obvious when I say it out loud, but there was one cat we met called Jerry, who absolutely adored having his like cheeks / underneath his chin just sort of mangled almost. And I know that sounds a little bit intense, but he really did. Like, you'd see it in the video we posted. I was just sort of rubbing his face and like just messing with him, but he absolutely adored it. And then we met another cat that we didn't film called Misty. I think it was called Misty, and I tried to do a similar thing. I always test the waters with cats because you never know. Yeah. I tried to do a similar thing, scratching her chin, and she hated it. She was like, "Do not touch me there. I will end you." And I was like, "Okay, good to know. Thanks, Misty." And that is the thing, is like, I think you've just got to be careful with every single cat because they're so different and they know what they like, they know what they want. And that, I guess that is the big difference between them and dogs as well, is that cats are absolutely certain with what they know, what they love. And you've always got to be that little bit extra sort of just conscious of, how they're feeling, because one cat might love something and the next cat might just absolutely hate it. And that's up to you to then make sure that you're not doing something to the cat that it's not a fan of.
Absolutely. I mean, for you guys as well, how much do you feel there's that sort of responsibility there to ensure that, people that follow you guys and enjoy the content you put out are kind of engaged with, animal and pet welfare in general? Do you feel like, there's a kind of a sense of duty almost for you guys to kind of, approach that? Because I do see there's a lot of stuff on TikTok and that kind of thing where the way that people do treat their pets sometimes is a little bit questionable, and you see so many accounts and people dressing up their pets and all kinds of things that are a little bit not too sure about that. Like, do you guys feel like it's important to kind of reflect that?
We're all for having our animals in content, because at the end of the day, people love seeing animals on social media. But you make a very good point in terms of people dressing up their pets and using them more as props than animals, because that's where we absolutely draw the line. It's like, we will never encourage our pet or animal or whatever to be the sort of subject or the laughed at thing in the video.
But also, like, some people might not realize that actually one thing that you saw a cat on the internet do is not necessarily something that your cat will want to do.
Absolutely.
And I know that's a little bit like vague, but for example, we will never get our animals to do anything or force them to do anything, like put them in clothes, for example. We know that none of our animals would want to be wearing clothes. We've occasionally put our dogs in a hat. They hate it. We've given up. There's no way that they would like wearing a hat, so there's no chance they'd like wearing a full-on outfit, and we've never even bothered. But like, with that, like, people do just see a viral video or whatever and go, oh, well, I've got a cat, my cat could do that easily. They start, either trying to puppet it around or God knows what else with it. And it's like, actually, if you didn't know that your cat was already happy, like a ragdoll cat, for example, is more than happy just being a bit floppy and being a bit funny. But then some other cats are going to be like, what the hell are you doing to me? Don't touch me like that, or don't move me around like that. And you've got to know that, and you've got to almost weirdly have that, not necessarily conversation with your cat, but that sort of interaction to understand what it is okay with, because it is another being living in your household, and you should treat it like that.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. And I think that the more, content creators can kind of put that message across, I think the better, really. I think that you do. It's difficult, like you say, because you do want to include your pets in your content because they're such a big part of your life. So it'd be weird to not include them because it's like you say, they coexist with us all. You know, they're like my cat's always with me all the time. So if my cat wasn't with me and if I was going to make a video, then it'd be a bit strange. But there is that sort of element of responsibility, I suppose, and reflecting it in the right way, which I think, you know, obviously you guys are completely on top of. So when it comes to interacting with your cats, obviously, you know, we've seen them make appearances in content and stuff. Something which we've kind of got a real sense of on this podcast over the past 2 series is that people have got very specific voices that they use when addressing their cats. So, cause like my old cat Ruby, before she passed, I definitely used a slightly different tone to the cat that I've got now, Cinnamon, because slightly different age. Like Ruby was like 11, Cinnamon's 3. So I feel like I baby Cinnamon a little bit more, whereas Ruby was like, you know, she's a bit of an older girl, so I can't talk to her like it's such like a baby. What about you guys? Did you find that you have different voices?
Yeah, so weirdly with Curly, when we did have him, I would definitely speak with a different tone to him than I would to Pingu. Pingu's tone is a lot sort of softer and gentler, like she's a sort of sweet old lady kind of thing.
We have so many nicknames for Pingu as well. Like she'll be ping Pong or something like that, and that goes up as well. So we're like Ping Pong, come here, like that sort of voice. But then Curly, I guess you can demonstrate.
I would just sort of. It was a bit weird because I would address him as if he was some sort of gentleman kind of thing, like just the man that he's the man of the house.
Curly
kind of
man,
curly boy,
big boy,
there you
come
are.
here he is.
And then Pingu's sort of like a sweetness, come here, little, give her a little chin tickle kind of thing. Yeah, so that was the difference between those two.
I'd love that this is the only podcast that exists that we could just get away with doing this.
Oh yeah, big time.
And this is like permanent on the internet forever now.
No, but I always think this is like such a safe space for, like, you know, for cat owners and cat lovers, just to kind of share just how ridiculous we are in front of our cats, because I'm just like a different person. Like I sometimes I don't realize what I'm doing, and then if I have friends round, I remember one of the first times, like one of my close friends saw me in front of my cat, and he was like, I don't know who you are. I was like, you're not the man that I thought you were. You're completely different. Like, what's going on? Yeah. And I just thought about cats that completely melts me. And I know that I'm fully ridiculous in the way that I address my cat. So it's absolutely fine. And nicknames as well. Like, it's very rare that you would call your cat by their actual name, right?
No, yeah, it never happens. Never happens. It's always something different.
So, guys, I'm going to tell you a very quick story about my current cat, Cinnamon, who I got from Cats Protection. And so she was found as part of 3 cats that were abandoned on a car park. It's ridiculous. Okay. So she's like a semi-long-haired calico, beautiful cat. And so I got her, and the Cinnamon was like a holding kind of name. When Cats Protection took her in, they were like, oh, it was like cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. Like, they were just named after spices. So I got Cinnamon, and then quite quick turnaround, and then one of the managers at the centre near me was like, oh, yeah, we'll just go through the chip again. And she was like, oh, my God, her actual name is on the chip, and I've not really addressed it. So her actual name that was registered was Princess Fluffy Bum. That's their actual registered name is that.
You know what? I'm glad that cat is in your care now.
Yeah. Yes. That's quite an intense name for a cat.
And don't forget, they do shout the names out at the vets as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And so, I mean, I have kept Cinnamon in the end, but I would now and again, I'll confess to you guys, I have called her Princess Fluffy Bum.
Oh, it's funny though. Yeah, it is funny.
I'll just PFB for short.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of that. I don't know if you're an Adventure Time fan, but that makes me think of LSP immediately, Lumpy Space Princess.
Yeah, so you know, and I think it's, to be fair as well, when they told me that, I was a little bit like, well, that's ridiculous. I can't, you know, call the Princess Fluffy Bum. And I thought, hang on a minute, Adam, you will be calling them more ridiculous names than that. Like, do you know what I mean? That's going to be probably the most sensible name that you will be calling it within the, you know, the 4 walls of your house. So, guys, I mean, you know, we could sit and talk about cats for ages, but I want to find out a bit more about some of the projects that you guys are working on currently. So, podcasts, that kind of thing?
Honestly, we love talking about what we're doing, but frankly, we do want to get back to cats, so we'll make this quick. But yeah, we've got a podcast ourselves that we do with our little sister, and we often do talk about cats as well. Genuinely, we've talked since we've been to the National Cat Centre. We've talked about cats protection at least on 2 different episodes, maybe 3, separate times that it just happened to come up because we love talking about it so much. But then, so we do that with Tilly. We're also obviously all over social media just generally, but now we're working very, very hard behind the scenes on our music because we've been very quiet in that world for about...
Your boy's tired.
2 or 3 years, and Max is
been a lot of work
suffering because he does a lot of the production and all that sort of side of things. I carry a lot of the social media side of things, but also we do work together when it comes to the music on writing and singing and all that jazz. So yeah, it's been a long couple of months for us, but actually, again, visiting Cats Protection was like the best day off ever because we were just like so happy in our element, meeting loads of cool guys. And Alice and Joe and everyone, the humans there were nice too, but mainly the cats.
We were there for the cats.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of that's mainly what we've been getting up to. I occasionally do some DJing on the side just to sort of keep myself going in terms of live performance. But that's pretty much all we've got going on at the moment. But it's intense.
Yeah, there's plenty going on. As I said, with that introduction that I gave you guys earlier, there's a lot of things that I'm expecting from you now because I've given a big list of things that you do.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know when this episode actually goes out, but we have just broken our podcast for a bit, and we've not told our audience actually when we're coming back yet because we're being a little bit cryptic. But we obviously it's called 13 again because our little sister is 13. And she turns 14 soon, so I wonder what we might do to come back. But that's basically where we're at with that. So that should be exciting when we come back for that. But we're the studio that we're currently in is being completely transformed, flipped around, and turned similar to what you've got going on actually, which is quite nice. The sort of wood paneling kind of vibe. I like it.
This isn't my house though, guys. I just want to make that clear.
It's a nice space.
Yeah, no, it's really cool actually. So as you know, I'm still very much learning about cats. There's loads that I still don't know. Every day I feel like I'm learning something new about my own cat. And today we're joined by someone who does. Welcome back to Nicky Trevorrow, Cats Protection Behaviourist. Nicky, it is lovely to see you again. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing, Adam?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. So many questions about cats, as always, for you. You're like the sort of the cat guru that I can just rely on whenever I need anything answering. I'm just like, Nicky, what's going on? Tell me, help me. So we've got Max and Harvey on the podcast today. They're massive cat lovers, and like me, they're still learning about their cats. So Max, Harvey, anything you want to ask Nicky while we've got her here about cats?
Hello, by the way.
Hello.
Why do cats know that if they persistently sort of meow or try and, either give you headbutts on the leg to grab your attention, that they will then receive food because of that annoyance? How does that sort of connection work in their head to annoy human, get food kind of thing?
That's a really good question, and many people often ask it, particularly asking themselves when it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and the cat's like, trying to wake them up, etc. So it's actually a learnt behaviour, and they do it again because it's successful. So they're not actually trying to intentionally annoy us. They're just trying a whole bunch of different options to see what works, and when it does work, they're going to do it again. So in the same way, like I don't know, meowing at the door to be let out is a learnt behaviour. But if that cat was to be rehomed and then you have a different owner and they try meowing and that cat gets fed instead of being let outside, the cat's like, oh, that didn't work, so what else can I try? And then they might try pawing at the door, and they'll try a bunch of different things until the owner's like, oh, you want to be let outside, and then that's the thing that they'll repeat again next time. So they're really good at it, and actually I say most animals are really good at this sort of learning.
Yeah. Nice.
I've got another question actually, because we have this is a bit more of a sort of I need training. So we have this cat that lives on our road. He's called Romeo.
Aww.
He is the best cat I've ever seen in my life.
He's a very good
and he's not
cat,
ours.
Yeah.
And I know I should be biased to my own cats, but he is like, if you saw him, you'd be like, wow, specimen. So basically, he'll loiter outside our house, and he clearly wants attention. I will then go to him slowly and approach and sort of let him suss me out. And then I'll give him attention. And after about 2 seconds, he's just done and walks away. And I don't know if there's like any sort of obvious reason for that, whether or not he's just toying with me or I don't know. But is there any sort of thing that you'd suggest maybe to get him to trust me for longer or something?
See, again, this is when it comes back to like what people want versus what cats want, and like just like our natural interaction. So people again, everyone's different, same as every cat, but people generally have more infrequent interactions, but when they do, they're quite like high intensity and quite prolonged, whereas cats are much more like frequent interactions, lower intensity. When I say intensity, I mean like in human terms, like a bit of a wave rather than a hug, you know?
Yeah.
So they're just like, all right, how's it going? You know, whereas people are like, oh, how's it going? Not seen you for ages, like big hugs, like, you know, a little bit. So they're just a bit more full on basically. And cats are a bit like, you're good, thanks. So it's just like, they're not trying to shun you. That's just their natural style, just to be like, sup, how's it going? So how they can build up trust, it's more just building the interactions over time, and also always, like you've been doing, giving the cat choice. So if you sort of fuss them and then like stop for a minute and then see if they come back for more fuss, and if you're consistent with that, it really puts the ball in their park, as it were, so that they can choose to keep coming back to you, knowing that they're in control of it, because cats love to be in control. So if they know that they've got that with you and they can kind of lead on it, they feel much happier and safer.
I know what you mean, though. It's like tantalising you, innit? It's like Romeo the cat is waiting with open arms for a hug. You go in for the hug and he goes, "Oh, just wave."
He's tricking me.
He does definitely love to sort of toy with the aspect of getting you over and then just going, cool, I'm done, soon as you get there.
But he'll sit on our driveway screaming like he needs something.
No,
and I'm like, okay.
He walks into our house.
Yeah.
And to be fair, weirdly, not as much anymore. I think him and our cat Curly used to be quite good friends. So he would come in and visit Curly kind of thing and just sort of sit next to him for a bit and then leave. But obviously...
I guess sort of like what you
anymore.
described, Nicky, was like how he's sort of like a bit of a all right and then dips. And then that's enough for him. Like, yeah.
Exactly. I think people are just like, as humans, are just a lot needier than cats are, generally speaking. So I think we really want to get so much from them, and they're just like, oh, it's not where I was going with this.
It's like, chill out. It's like, chill out, mate. Just calm down. It's hard though when they're that cute.
And so another question would be sort of on the back of that. Is there a breed of cat that is particularly more friendly than the rest? Or does it just depend on the cat entirely?
So whilst there are breed differences, for sure, I would always caveat that with, it really depends on those early kitten socialization experiences. Like, for example, because people get really hung up on like, oh, but I got this particular pedigree of cat and I thought it was going to be friendly and it's not, and I wanted a lap cat and it's not. And that's because they are all still individuals at the end of the day. So yeah, there might be some that might be naturally more interested in the human interaction. But for example, and I've known this, if you've got a pure pedigree cat and it has no experience with humans in the first 2 months of life, they are basically a feral pedigree cat.
Yeah.
It's the oddest looking thing because they look, you know, they have the classic looks, but they are like acting like a wild animal, like a fox, for example. So yeah, so if you don't have, you have to sort of put everything together. You've got like the breed type, but then you've got like the actual parents that were involved, because again, that will make a difference, and how they, all their sort of personality and then their genetics as well. And then you've got the sort of the environment that they're raised in, for example, that kittens are born into. And then like I say, this really crucial kitten socialization. And the real key thing with getting used to people is they need to get used to, well, the research shows 4 different types of people. So it can't just be like, you know, 4 women, for example, because then, you know, they're not sure about men, etc.
Right, yeah.
They need to have a sort of a broader base to kind of get like all people are cool rather than just that one specific, you know, person they're used to.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because our old cat Minnie actually used to be really weird around younger children, I guess because she wasn't as used to it, so she'd actually be more likely to lash out at a baby than she would at like a fully grown adult, which I was kind of like, come on, Minnie, that's brutal. But at the same time...
Yeah, but we come in all shapes and sizes and stuff. And also babies and particularly toddlers are wildly unpredictable, particularly from a cat's perspective. And you think they like to be in control, like they can't be in control of a toddler because it's just carnage.
Yeah.
Guys, we've got a question sent in from one of our listeners who often, you know, ask questions about their own cats and their own situations with cats. And we've got a question from Lauren who sent us an email. who says, guys, I've got a question about cat play behaviour. So my cat Bella is an indoor cat, loves to play, so I play a variety of games with her throughout the day to keep her entertained. Now, despite her high interest in playing, she has noticed that she doesn't engage in play behaviour with Lauren if she's multitasking at the same time. So if she's watching TV, listening to a podcast or on the phone, that sort of thing, and she'll only engage once the TV or the podcast is turned off. So Lauren says, is it because she wants her full attention and is a bit of a diva, or is it because she finds the noise distracting when she's doing, stalking and pouncing on her toys? It's quite interesting, that, isn't it, really?
Smart cat.
Yeah, and yeah, it's just like, no, I don't want anything else in the background. I want all the attention on me. Nicky, what's going on there? Is there a kind of a clear answer to it?
I mean, I would say so. What's interesting, though, is that she's combined diva with wanting full attention, when actually I was actually... And I get it, I get it, and lots of people say it, but I'd actually split the two things up and say she was right. The cat does want her full attention, but the cat is not being a diva. That is just part and parcel of normal interactions. And quite frankly, particularly from some of the things I'm hearing, in other spheres, for example, have you seen people walking down the street with their dog, but they're on the phone?
Yeah.
They're really not engaging with that dog. And so it's just not going to be as fulfilling a walk, for example. And same with children. Children do want their parents' full attention. They're not being divas. It's just a natural part of communication to have that full attention. And all the stuff we've seen about sort of smartphones taking people's attention away from really being present and in the moment. So I think cats are great for being in the moment. And if anything, they're going to bring us back to what we used to have of being present and everything else. And also, let's be honest, and because I know we've all done it. We've all done that thing where you're sort of doing something else and trying to play with them. But because your mind's not on it, you're not really doing a very good job. And like I said, I've been there. I've done some play sessions, so I'm like, oh, I'm not proud of myself. That wasn't actually very good. It wasn't very fun for the cat. Whereas if you're really on it, and then you're and you can respond quickly to how the cat's moving, and oh, now I'm going to hide it behind the sofa, and then I'm going to make a mad dash across the room. You're more engaged, therefore the cat will be naturally more engaged, and it's just more fun.
I actually had a follow-up question to that as well, because we found, especially earlier on, Curly, our older cat, he used to love playing. He used to love sort of strings and sticks and all that sort of stuff that we'd drag along the ground, and we'd play with him a lot. But Pingu, weirdly, and this might have been, we mentioned it earlier before you were on, Nicky, but it felt a little bit like Pingu felt like Curly stole her thunder a lot. So when Curly passed, Pingu turned into a completely different cat. But beforehand, if Curly was playing and we tried to get Pingu to play as well, she wouldn't be as bothered. So I guess that leans into what you were saying a little bit about wanting full attention.
Definitely, and also because different cats have got different play styles as well. So some prefer it up in the air, some across the ground, and it's mimicking different sort of prey species behaviour. For example, whether it's sort of flying or moving across the floor, that sort of thing. And then, so if you're playing with one style and the other cat has a different play preference, and you're not meeting that, then again, that's where you can see the sort of levels of disinterest. But also the personality types and the relationships between the cats themselves. There's quite a few cats that they just need to have separate play sessions to each other.
I was about to ask, would you suggest that? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever seen cats playing together working, or is that fairly rare?
Oh, no. I have seen cats playing together, and that's working well. It depends.
With a human as well?
Oh, yeah, with the human as well. So all three. But again, it depends on the group dynamic and how well it works. But also the owner needs to be super engaged to really hit all the different cats' needs and respond to the play as it's happening. I mean, what's more unusual, but I have heard of this as well, is play with cats and dogs and the owner. And the best one was a case I had where the cat and dog actually used to hunt together in the garden.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's one of these things, so it's a bit more unusual, but they definitely had a honed style, which is quite impressive across species, where I think the dog would be flush the play, and then the cat would then pounce out at the last minute. So, but they were kind of definitely working together. So it can be done, but it very much depends.
Well, our dogs do actually play with the cat occasionally, mainly Fred. So we have an older, sorry, he's not older. He's about, he's 8, is he? Freddie?
7 or 8, yeah.
And he often will engage with Pingu, but also she loves playing with his tail, and he doesn't mind at all. She'll just bat it about whenever he's walking by. If she's sat on a chair and she's got the high ground, she'll just start messing with his tail. But then also they both, and Freddie's a big golden retriever and Pingu's a tiny sort of little, I guess, ragdoll cat. Mm-hmm. And they both butt heads a lot.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You know how they push their cheeks against stuff or whatever? They'll do that to each other, which surprises me, because I would have almost thought that Pingu would feel like she's a little bit unmatched.
She's getting bludgeoned by Freddy.
by his massive head. But she doesn't mind it.
No, and that's really sweet. So it just shows that, there's positive behaviours being in the same social group.
Yeah. No, I think luckily, especially because we've had all of our cats from very young, and also both of our dogs are very well trained. They never chase cats or anything like that. And the older dog Pippa, she was pat trained from a very young age, so she could go into like schools and stuff. They've always got along with pretty much every cat we've had in the household, right?
The dogs have, but we've been talking about wanting to either adopt a new cat, potentially even from Cats Protection soon, but our mum is very certain that Pingu doesn't like new cats coming into the household, and I guess that would be another really good question to ask is, do you have any suggestions or tips for... Because I think, how old's Pingu now? Is she 5 or...
Yeah, be 4 or 5.
4 or 5, something like that. And so, yeah, we're not too sure on if we were to get a new cat, how we would integrate that into the family, especially if it was an older adopted cat, because I think that would be trickier.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've asked the really right question of like, would she even like it in the first place? And I think that more so than age, it's really considering, is it the right thing to go ahead? And for quite a few cats, the answer is no, because, as you've identified, your mum's identified, they just don't like other cats, and that's quite a normal baseline for a lot of cats. They're not naturally a social species compared to like dogs and ourselves, etc. So I think you have to kind of start from a point of a cat that's likely to like other cats and has shown signs that they do, and then from there it's a case of matching the right cat to the right personality. And you would bring in age at this point to consider, like particularly like energy dynamics. Like you don't want to have like a really old senior cat with a kitten on, on the whole, that's a bit of a mismatch. Gender doesn't come into it. So like, if it's male or female, they don't seem to care. It's more about the personalities and how social they are, generally speaking, to cats. And then the integration process, like we've got a video online, but it's doing it really, really slowly, introducing scent being like the biggest part of the process. So you just sort of gently capture it, for example, on their cheeks where their scent glands are, and then leave that cloth in the other cat's environment, so you keep them separate. And
that's really interesting. I didn't know that. So you can actually get most of a cat's scent from its cheeks.
Well, it's when they're like rubbing on stuff, that's where the scent glands are, sort of here and here, either side of the mouth. And then and if you just collect it on a clean cloth, and you do one cloth for one cat, one cloth for the other cat, and then you swap them, and then you don't show the other cat the cloth, which I think historically is how some people have done it, but it doesn't give the cat choice. So it's about putting it into the, like say, the middle of the room, and allowing the other cat to come up and choose whether to kind of sniff it, investigate it, or whether to sort of avoid it. Because people always expect it to be really dramatic, and cats aren't generally that dramatic. They'll generally sort of sniff and ignore or avoid, rather than like go up to it and start purring and rubbing or growling at it. It's not obvious.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Guys, I want to say thanks so much for joining us today. Before I do let you go, one thing we do generally ask on this podcast is, what is the best thing about having a cat?
Oh, that is a rough question.
A little bit of the best thing about having a cat, and this is what you always get the divide between, I think, cat lovers and dog lovers, is that sort of like, you really have earned the trust of a cat, where a lot of dogs, and don't get me wrong, dogs are great, they're loving and they're caring, and they pretty much without fail will always love their owner. But the fact that with a cat you have put the work in and like the groundwork, and it does almost feel like your own child, more so, I would argue. I think that just makes cats so much more exciting. And I just think weirdly they've got, and I might get hate for this or whatever, but I think cats are so much more characterful and, exciting and interesting to watch.
That was actually going to sort of link to my best thing about cats, is that whenever I see a cat either doing something or choosing to make an action, it never fails to make me smile or laugh, because they are just so interesting in the way whether it be our cat Pingu, she lies down like a chicken, and it's just so strange for a cat to be doing that. But
she's loafing, isn't she?
Yeah, exactly. And all the things she chooses to sleep in as well. It's like, why have you done? But fine, fair. Like but it always makes me laugh. So yeah, that's probably my top thing about cats for sure.
Oh, guys, thanks so much for joining us on Cat's Got Your Tongue. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you again soon. And keep doing what you're doing for cats, and keep spreading the message, and keep supporting Cats Protection.
It's a pleasure. We'll be back in as soon as you'll have us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Amazing. Max and Harvey, thank you so much, guys. And thanks, Nicky, as always.
Thank you.
And that is just about it for this time. Cat's Got Your Tongue is made in association with the charity Cats Protection. Thank you for listening, as always. And remember to hit subscribe so you'll never miss another episode. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube as well. Don't forget, if you've got any cat's tales yourself, any questions, any stories, or any musings about cats, then listen, we'd love to hear from you. You can give us a shout by emailing us, pod@cats.org.uk, or you can leave us a voice note on WhatsApp if you want, 07824 551076 is where you can find us. Don't forget, tell your friends who love cats all about us. Your family members who love cats, tell them about us as well. You can share the podcast, give us a lovely review, and we'll see you next time on Cat's Got Your Tongue. So, did you know you can sponsor a rehoming pen at Cats Protection and receive updates about all its feline inhabitants before they find their forever home? You can even watch their antics live via webcams directly inside each sponsor pen. And by sponsoring a pen, you won't just be sponsoring one cat, you'll be making a difference to countless cats and kittens in our care. You can find out more at cats.org.uk/sponsor.